Hey guys, okay, so I did have my port surgery. I just have it covered up because for some reason the glue seems to be getting tacky. I'm not sure if it's because it's rainy outside and I have a fan going from the window, so I just have it wrapped up right now. Now, here's the thing that, you know, everybody's like, oh, you're gonna be knocked out for this surgery. Nope. I was completely awake. They did, knowing I was awake, they numbed the area like they normally would even if you were asleep and relaxed with the medication that they give. They numbed the area. I have two slices. I have one slice into my jugular vein here, and then I have one slice above the pocket where they put the port. Now, with that being said, it was, a little uncomfortable. I was there for 2.5 hours. So, they gave me this little card. It's double-sided. It explains what my port is, that I have a power port and that it's a single, not a double. So, I carry this in my wallet now. My PICC line is still in, and I'm still using that currently because my nurse and I have decided that we're going to wait till my port site completely heals before I get accessed. Now, thankfully, BioScript has sent me 4 or 5 different needles to try. One has the cover for when you de-access. The others do not, because I asked for one that didn't because I thought the extra plastic would irritate my skin because of how sensitive my skin is. I did get the numbing cream that you put on half an hour before to an hour before you're accessed. I've been reading the instructions clearly on that. I've been checking my port site every morning since the surgery, which was actually yesterday. So I've been doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. The surgery itself for this was, a bit weird. Since I don't use fentanyl, we went with using morphine with the sleepy medicine. I also had Benadryl because of the fact that I have chemical sensitivities. So they gave me Benadryl. And I also had Zofran because I had not processed the feed for like an entire 24 hours before because my body tends to back things up into my stomach. And I did get my tube checked at the same time I was in surgery because the doctor was so nice. He wanted to check out everything to make me feel completely at ease with him working on me, which I did. He checked the PICC placement, double checking that everything was good. He was the doctor who redid my PICC line when my other PICC line got pulled out a little bit. So he was doing a full check on me before he even started the surgery. And this was at Pottstown Hospital's IR department. Very nice doctor, very nice staff. I came in and I'm like, hi, I'm your troublemaker, when I went into the outpatient thing. So I end up with a really cool nurse who, as she's reading through my thing, she's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're allergic to this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, yeah, it kind of sucks to be me. So I had an array of bracelets yesterday. Okay, So I had my obvious patient bracelet. Then I had a limb alert bracelet for my arm that my PICC line was in. I put all this on my left arm, so it was to the arm that was getting the IV. Okay, then I had my handy dandy fall risk bracelet. And then I had another handy dandy allergy alert bracelet. So I was joking around with the guys in IR that I was wearing bangles just for them. So, the first person who was doing my anesthesia was my buddy Mike. Totally awesome guy. Loved chilling and talking with him. They literally spent 45 minutes while the room was getting ready, talking with me about how the anesthesia was going to go. The doctor was talking with me about all of the benefits and risks associated with having a port, and all of the different ways that the body heals and how it was going to look at my port site as my body heals. And he even double checked how long my body normally takes to heal and how the glue layer that he put on over top of my skin, he was going to put it on a certain way so that as that slowly flakes off, it's only going to flake off completely once the wound is healed. So he made sure he put a decent amount. He knew the product and he knew how, based on the conversation he had with me on how my body heals. So we worked out together what needed to be done with the glue layer, how it needed to be done, making sure I didn't have a reaction to the glue and all of that stuff, which was amazing. He also double checked because we have internal stitches, obviously. We have internal stitches at both incision marks because he had to go through the jugular vein to thread it down to get into where he needed the port to be attached. Now, that being said, he did explain how he had to make a pocket, is how it was described. Instead of cutting the muscle tissue, he actually pulled it apart so that it would heal better than a straight incision, which I completely understand. Instead of like a plain incision, having it ripped, it would come back like this to heal, rather than being like this to heal, and having one fracture line that could easily rip apart. So we got that all taken care of and understood that it was going to be painful. It was going to bruise up a lot, which, Ehlers-Danlos patients are definitely the type to bruise. So as I was getting prepped, they did the regular ChloraPrep, which no problem, I'm good with. I'm used to it. Then they used the blue stuff, and for some odd reason, to me, it smelled like ammonia and rubbing alcohol. And I started to cough and my oxygen started to go down. So we made sure I had my little cannula on. And it went above my head this time to be out of the way of the other wires. And I had oxygen on during the procedure. They also had an EKG going, which, as we all know, if we're awake during a thing, that is vital for us to have for those of us who have POTS or any other type of heart condition. So I was coughing because of that stuff. They taped down and stretched out my chest area. They were very professional about where they had to touch my body to adjust it to make it easier for the procedure, which, I appreciated their professionalism. And then I got put under the tarp. They had put one of the metal rings, the little halo rings above me, that attached behind my head and underneath the top of the bed, so that the sterile field went up and over that, and then they clipped it so that they could see me because my head was turned this way the entire time. So I was looking out the side of the bed, and my anesthesiologist was back and forth, doing what they needed to do, monitoring me the entire time. They were usually at the head of the bed to see me, but then they were at the foot of the bed to put the medicine in because the IV line ran under the sterile field and towards my feet, which is why they kept going back and forth. In the middle of the procedure, my favorite anesthesiologist had to leave for his lunch break, and another person came on. Well, this other person was going over my allergies. And then she got mad at me because I was allergic to Dilaudid, but not morphine, and that they were using morphine. So I had one of those anesthesiologists. But thankfully, the doctor who was doing the procedure on me at the time, because him, I, and the anesthesiologist had a 45-minute conversation about what was best for me and what was going to be happening in this surgery before I went into that room, he corrected her on what was going on, what type of patient I was, and things like that. Unfortunately, I did not get sent home with pain medicine because, well, the anesthesiologist that took over for Mr. Mike. And I wasn't going to push the issue either. I mean, I was not going to, go at this nurse like, you don't know what's going on with me. Please, refrain from trying to have judgment. I decided it wasn't worth the fight. I was too tired from everything. And there was a few points during the procedure that I felt a lot of pressure. I felt him crack a rib, like push it down and everything. My sternum actually popped while he was working on me, which kind of startled everybody. But because him and I had a conversation about that type of thing happens, the surgeon didn't even jump, nothing, didn't even ask what that was. He just continued on his work and focused on it, which was great. There was also quite a few times where he was holding a conversation with me about exactly what was going on, what he was doing, how things were going, how far we were in the procedure, which was really nice to have a nice, calming conversation while this was going on. Because I was under a blue tarp, I couldn't really look at anybody but my anesthesiologist. I didn't have my glasses on, so I just saw like blurs of color. But they had the oxygen mask on me. My allergy mask, I had that off because I was receiving oxygen. And, they had already pre-medded me with Benadryl, so it wasn't going to be too bad. They gave me the mask again before I left to go down to recovery, which was great. My right arm had dislocated because they have you lay your arms next to your body, and my right arm hyperextended. So from the elbow down to my fingers, I was having some problems, which for me is normal. So while I was in recovery, my husband had to come in, readjust my arm. Thankfully, I was still feeling numb for like another, I want to say 4 hours. Like, he really numbed me up. He did use the lidocaine, novocaine, and epinephrine is what we had talked about, I think. And I'm saying I think because when you're getting that sleepy med, which I cannot pronounce, plus morphine and Benadryl, you're in a little bit of a haze. You're not completely out, but you're in a haze. So the port site was numb. Where he cut into the jugular vein, like just the skin was numb, which I had had a central line put in before, so I knew what to expect. But my collarbone just aches like crazy. With this being the second day, well, the day after surgery, I guess is how you would say it. I have trouble moving my right arm from the shoulder. Picking myself up after laying on my back is the most painful. The most painful. Woke up this morning entirely in pain. Couldn't do much of anything. Absolutely just wanted to cry. I did put ice. For all of those who's like, why didn't you take Tylenol or aspirin? I'm allergic. Yeah, so I'm allergic to so many different things when it comes to pain relief that a lot of times, unless I have a doctor who feels that they can get away with writing me a prescription for morphine, everyone else doesn't unless they feel comfortable with the morphine. So I just deal with the pain. Unfortunately, that's just how things are. When leaving the area was interesting. They tried to make me drink something, which I can't really swallow. So, I was able to do a sip without choking, completely, to make them happy. And I didn't have, any of my feed supplies with me because I was disconnected from everything. So the lady goes, "Oh, you still have your PICC line in. Let me remove that." I'm like, "No, this is supposed to stay until this is healed." And she's like, "Oh, okay. I didn't know that's how things were going." And I'm like, "Well, you weren't the person I had to explain it to." So that's how that went. But other than that, I'm just slowly dealing and slowly working through the pain and going over making the different packs up that I have with my supplies for sterile procedure with sterile saline and all of that stuff to have it so that it can be set up for port access. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to get ready for that stuff and be prepared and, get ready for this new stage in my life where I'm going to be able to have a needle in my chest that works for better flow rather than comfort, unfortunately, but I know that I need the stuff, so I'm going to do it. So that's how things are going. Hopefully that was a good enough update and recap of the surgery so that somebody else doesn't feel as afraid of the surgery. In all honesty, I think my feeding tube surgery honestly had more pain to it than the port surgery. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope that was insightful. I hope you guys were able to, follow my little ramble about the surgery, and I hope it helps somebody not be scared.